Hi there, in this video we'll be looking at capturing cull locations or grid references using ArcGIS field maps. So this video follows on from a previous one where we went through downloading offline areas, which is essential for the sort of areas that we're going to be working in. And we got up to this section here, which was basically where we were going to reopening the app. And I'll be looking at different options within there, layers, legends, how you go about adding features. There's 3 different types of feature we can add, how we can delete something if we've added it in error or we're just testing, and how we can edit existing features as well if we've made, say, some mistake in the date and time that was recorded. And then back at the larder, those grid references you've captured, you'll need to be able to review those, so we'll look at how we do that as well. So reopening the app. So the app here is still running from the previous session. You can see in all the apps that I've got open here, it's still running in the background, and it's fine to just leave it having it running in the background. When you're in the forest, it'll still do the location tracking okay. So let's say we shut the app down. The next time we open it, it's going to try and open at the same place we left off. So normally wouldn't be along the bottom here. I'd need to go to wherever I've saved it on the home screen. Open it up and you can see it's, because the location tracking I set it for 4 hours, what I might do actually is just demonstrate more what it's probably going to be like. Let's open it again actually, and I'll turn that off for a second, because usually when you reopen it, what you'll actually see is this page here asking you to turn the location sharing back on, and then once you hit that, you'll be back at where I was previously. If you're not, then probably maybe you haven't followed those previous steps that we've been through already. So you could be back at this page, and from the current version, still needing to add offline areas and things. So in the current map, it shouldn't be this online map that we've got available here. As I was saying in the previous video, the current map should always have a thumbnail image from one of the offline areas that you've downloaded. So we're in the map. I've got what I was going to talk about first. I think it was layers. So the layers option, I'll just highlight that for you. It's this icon on the top here, diamond shaped with a line underneath it, sort of thing. So let's tap on that and have a look at what's in there. There are some layers which aren't turned on. One of them, for example, here is in the access section, is passing and turning points. So in order to reduce clutter, I've turned those off by default. There's nothing stopping you from turning those back on again. And you can see in this particular area there's a couple of these U symbols with it. Hard to see, but there's a small arrow on it as well. Just highlight that one. And so that's a turning point, and the passing places it is will have a P against them. Just orange P. I'll come on to the legend in a minute, but other options in here as well. I'll turn those, reduce clutter again by turning those off. And then we'll go down to subcompartment label points. So these tell you more about the crop that's been planted. So we go back to the map now. I'm getting back to the map by just hitting that X up here on the layers. So let me highlight that for you. That's what I'm using up here. So I'm back to the map, and you can see these subcompartment labels. So the 2 letters refer to this species that's been planted, so the common one being Sitka spruce. You can see a label here. I'll just highlight it. So this particular one, I'll just circle that actually. Subcompartment A is Douglas fir and Norway spruce, planted in 1944 apparently, so nice mature woodland. You'll have areas of open as well. So, but they will introduce quite a bit of clutter to the label, so let's turn those off again. So that was clicking on the layers icon up the top, and I'm dragging this upwards. So anywhere on the screen here, I can just hold it and drag upwards until I get down to subcompartment label points, turn them back off again, and I won't circle it again, but it's that cross up where it says layers to the right hand corner, and we're back in the room. So some of this test data I captured yesterday, and you can see the symbology for it. So the main one we're going to be interested in is these Cull Locations. So let's open the legend, which is in the overflow menu, which refers to the 3 dots up the top right hand corner. So I'll just highlight that here for you. So this is what I'm talking about here. So we're going to click on that and tap on legend. And now you can use that dragging as well. So anywhere on this bottom section, I can drag that upwards to see additional information. I can drag it all the way back down to get rid of it completely, or hit the X. Didn't get rid of it completely actually. Hit the X to get rid of it completely. I'm going to go back into it. But we can see the symbols I've used aren't the standard ones we use in Contract Mapper, but the roads are this double line symbol. The rides are actually a white line. Ranger access, which is just another name for ATV tracks. The dashed line that you see there, and we've got a single line for paths. Okay, and I've also symbolized the subcompartments to highlight areas that are young, so the 1 to 5 are red, and felled areas are in brown there. So you might have more success in these felled areas, although obviously it's going to be quite dangerous to traverse some of these sites as well. Another one to focus on here is really the main purpose of this video, which is the Cull Locations or grid references. So you'll see here the symbol, the color of it's going to change as time goes by. Eventually it could get quite cluttered and we could end up with a lot of these 48 hours plus, so I'll need to do some work in future to reduce the number of features that are on the map, because eventually you'll end up shooting 2 animals quite near to each other and it could get confusing when you're trying to identify them. I'll discuss that in a wee minute, but let's go into the process now of adding a grid reference. So the way we're going to do that is using this collect button here. On some devices it may actually be labelled collect, and Apple devices in particular potentially. So that's the button I'm going to be pressing. It'll zoom me to my current location, which is not actually where I'm trying to put the point, so I'm going to drag the map over to where I want to be. Now, depending on your device and the size of your screen, you might not see all of the 3 options that I've got down below, so you can just drag this section up to make sure you can see all 3 options. Normally it's going to be Cull Locations, but you can use field notes for Grelix and livestock sightings for recording any sheep that are browsing on our land. So let's go with the Cull Location version 2. So this one here is what I'm pressing on. And there we go. So you see there's a blue button there's update point, which looks a bit like what you should be pressing to save it. That's not how we'll be saving. There's a couple of mandatory attributes we need to fill in, and once we've filled those in, we'll be using this tick symbol up here. But let's get to those mandatory attributes first of all. I'll just demonstrate what the danger of that update point button is, because you might have it in the right place and then hit update point and you'll see it's moved about and changed that grid reference automatically as it goes. that might be something you want to do. So if you've started recording it at your van and thought, well, actually, no, this is a point for when I was out over here roughly, then you can move that grid reference to where it should be. But the two mandatory attributes we need to fill in. Now to get down to the form, we can't just drag anywhere because the lower down will just be moving the form up and down. So to see more of the form, the section I want to be pressing on is just the header for this particular point. So I'm going to be dragging just this section here, holding down this section and dragging it upwards. And now it's sort of snapped up to the top there. So now if I press in the middle and I'm dragging up and down, you'll see it's not the whole form that's dragging up and down, it's this middle section of attributes. If I drag down again from that heading, I'm revealing more of the map. Okay, so I'll leave it there and let's look at these two attributes which are required, which is the cull date and time, and also this number of animals that were at the site. So that's a change that we made from the first iteration following feedback. So if you've killed a group in close proximity to each other around a similar time, then you can just do one point and then say a number in here. So let's go through that. The cull date and time. It's a bit different on different devices. If it was right now, I'd just be pressing OK. And that would be it for date and time. Actually, I'll do that. And how many? I'll just be putting a number in here. So I might talk about a tick, but I'm not talking about this tick down the bottom here. Oh, well, it's gone now anyway, but there's one tick that I had open there. Let's open it again. Just to get rid of the keyboard. That's not the submit button. The submit button I highlighted previously, and it's that tick here, which will, on Apple devices, will actually be the word submit, and it might be in a slightly different position. Let's go back to the date and time, because say you've took you a while to get over to where the animal was shot, or you're back at the van, you say you're recording one historically, so the date might be the same, but you wouldn't really be changing the date, but there's a good chance you might need to wind the clock back a bit. So in that case, it's not that obvious, but on Android devices, it's this clock symbol here that we need to tick on. So I'm going to press on the area I just highlighted, and it's slightly hard to make out, but this hours is currently darker than this minute section, so it's the hours that I'm adjusting just now. So I can change that about, and then after I've done that, you can see it's moved on to the minutes. But if you were at that first section, you want to leave the hours the same, just tap on that grey 38 and it takes you to the minutes. So you might say, well, actually that was roughly half an hour ago. And click OK. I'll just highlight OK. Save that particular time. And as I said earlier, we're just going to now be hitting the submit button, which is in that top right corner. It shouldn't take long. So I'll collect another one just a bit quicker, just to sort of show you how onerous it is really. So it's, well, highlight that it's not particularly onerous. So normally it's just going to be, probably the hard part is actually getting the phone out of your pocket to start off with, maybe having to take your gloves off and work the screen. But once you've done that, you've got the app open. So in case of, it's probably going to be right at your location where you're, so there's a button over here I'll talk about in a minute. If you press on that, it's going to drive you to your current location. But that's not suitable for what I'm doing just now. I'm going to press collect. And I'm going to drop it right on top of one of these older sort of points here, just to highlight an issue that I'll come on to later on when you're identifying a cull. So they're quite close together. And all I would need to do is, if it was right now, just click OK once I've entered the cull date and time, and a number in here. 1 if it was just 1. Submit that. And that's job done. So hopefully that's not any more onerous than what you're doing at present with your GPS devices or note paper and pen and note paper. And hopefully it's actually a bit more efficient. Okay, now to get back to the map screen, I can drag down that heading. Or actually what I want to do is, now that I've submitted it, just click on that cross up here at the top to take me back to the map. Okay. So this is all just test data, so I'm going to have to clear all this out at some point. So let's demonstrate, if you were doing some testing yourself, how you would delete that point. First of all, you would tap on it, just so it's this, I'll zoom in, there's this one here in the middle of the screen I'm aiming for. So I'm just going to tap on that location to highlight it. And you can see there's a couple of icons down the bottom here. Let me highlight those for you. I'm going to be talking in a minute about the edit screen. I'll talk about edit first, actually. So the option to edit this pencil, on some devices it may be actually the word edit that you're looking for. And then there's more options as well in here. So this is where we'll be deleting the feature using those 3 dots there. And on some devices as well, it may just be the word delete that you're looking for. So let's have a look at what is available in editing. Just takes back to how you were. So if we hit update point now and we had that crosshairs anywhere else, it's going to move the location of it. So we want to avoid that. If it was a single animal that was shot, then there's a chance there to record some other information that might be useful, or that you're going to have to enter into WMS later on. So just to make a note of it, you could add it here as well. Shouldn't take too long. I'll come back to the comments because there's a bit of a tip for that as well. Forest structure. High forest doesn't really mean tall trees. It just means that basically there's trees being planted there. So most commonly you can refer to this information that's been pulled through from, the information I'm talking about here is pulled through directly from the subcompartment database. In future iterations we might not even, WMS that is, we might not even ask for that information since we can gather it directly. So there's a few fields there in dark, sort of black, and some that are in light grey. So the light grey ones are being calculated automatically. These ones you can fill in your house yourself rather, but you don't need to be filling these in if it's too onerous. Obviously, like in that situation, what I did didn't really make any sense because if there's no embryos, then why would you put the count there? So yeah, the information you really want to be adding is, if it's always the same species, you wouldn't even bother adding the species at that point. But the key information is really how many and the time. So now that that's been changed, I've added that additional information, I can submit it using the submit button, which I'll keep highlighting up here in the top right. So if I hit the X now, so this button over here, it would ask me if I want to, am I okay to discard the information? So first of all, I'll submit that. And now we'll have a look at the options for making changes. So if I've got an existing feature, I start editing it, I make a change, now if I've decided I've made a mistake, there's no real undo button. What I can do is back out to where I was the last time I submitted. So if I hit, I'll just cancel that to show what I did hit, this button here without having submitted, it's going to say all edits will be lost. So it says discard feature. In this case, it's not going to delete the feature. It's just going to undo the changes that I'm partway through making. So you can see it's still there. If it was a new feature I was adding, so at this point the feature doesn't exist yet. If I add it in here, and then at this point, I might add some more information, but then decide, well, actually I've made a mistake. So at this point, if I discard here, so I'm hitting that X in the top left again, because the feature was never saved in the first place, this time it has been removed. So to remove an existing feature, go for that one we've just been looking at. So I'm going to tap on that, and the option to the right of the pencil, here there's 3 dots. Maybe the word delete somewhere on the screen over the top as well, so have a look around if it's different on an Apple device. But you can see here I can delete the feature there. So eventually I'll be going through and deleting all of these features that we can see. Right, so once you've captured a grid reference, you need to be able to review it back at the larder. There was the point of making the different symbols for the ones that have been captured in the last 6 hours, these green ones. As things get cluttered and time moves on, we want to be able to distinguish things more easily. The way to identify a feature is the same as how we selected it for editing. If there's more than one feature found at that location, it's going to return more than one item. So that was the reason why previously I put 2 quite close together in here. So if you're zoomed out, we tap on that location, it should find 2 different things. And hopefully it's fairly obvious to you. The one that's just got this small black, hang on, didn't mean to do that. Highlighting tool out. So this one here was captured more than 48 hours ago. Alright, this one with a green symbol is captured within the last 6 hours. So that's going to be the one I'm more interested in. I can see the grid reference already, but I don't have the full details. So where you've got features close to each other, it's going to be a 2-step sort of process. Let's look at a single feature. You can see here when there was just one on its own, it's opened up pretty much the whole form straight away. But where there's 2 close together, it says which one do you want to look at. So you tap on that, which one you want to look at, and now there you go, it's got the whole form. And I can move that screen up and down, so to get to that, really the key information there for wildlife management system is the time that it was shot, is what I've recorded here. But you can see other information required in the wildlife management system, which was calculated automatically for you, that being the block name, so in this case Culloden, and the name of the wildlife management unit. I'm not sure if WMS asked for the cost centre number or the district name, but it's one of the 2, and they're both there available for you. You can see the exact XY coordinates are down the bottom there as well. I've put some spaces in the grid reference, so it makes it a bit easier to distinguish where the middle part is. So if it was a 6-figure grid reference you're actually needing to enter into the system, then obviously you just work that out. So it's going to 6-figure, for example, in this case would be, I'll just highlight that. You can see it up the top there as well, actually, more obviously. NH, so in this case we'd drop the 1 and the 7, but I'm sure that's old news to you. So I'll get my highlighting tool out again. So to back out of here, we're hitting the X at the top right. once more, just to get back to the map. So the direction of travel would be that we try to replace WM. So I just paused the video there, but yeah, what I was saying was that in the future, maybe we'll try and link this system up with WMS, but for now, that's why a lot of that information is not mandatory, because we don't want you having to fill it in twice. It's just some of it may be handy to record out in the field as a note. Some of those additional features that I showed you before, or didn't show you rather, were for livestock sightings. So that shows us this red asterisk. So you can say whether it was a sheep or cattle or whatever else it was. Again, don't get too trigger happy with taking photos, but if you want to record additional evidence of that, you can do that with the camera. First time you use it, it'll ask for permissions to use your camera. So yeah, it's got that comment feature as well. I highlighted earlier how you can use that microphone at the top of the keyboard there on the right hand side. If I do that now, it'll stop the microphone for the video temporarily, so I won't do that just now. Okay, and I'll just back out of that actually, I won't bother saving it, so I'll discard those changes I've made. Let's have a quick look as well as the field notes. The main purpose of these is layers I hit rather than the plus button I meant to hit. And then field notes, this orange symbol. You can update the point, and the main purpose of this was really for if you need to record the grout location, any information of that, including the grid reference. Fairly straightforward. I don't think I need to explain too much more about that, but there are other options in there for recording issues with fencing. Some of the data was quite out of date, may not have been updated since 2008, so where it says there's a ride, there might not be a ride, or ranger access may be overgrown, so you can use that feature to report those issues back to us. I'll look now at maybe some issues that can go wrong, particularly with the grid references. So a lot of the information's being recorded automatically. So rather than create a new one, I'll try and demonstrate by editing this existing one. So I'm going to click on the pencil down the bottom. I'll bother highlighting it this time. Try and move on a bit quicker. But I'll scroll up here. So you can see all the light grey sections are filled in because it's currently on FLS land. And if I move that off, I'm going to drag down from where it's the heading now to get back to the map. And I'm going to update points so that it takes it off our land. So the grid reference updates, and if I scroll, drag the heading again, see the rest of the form, you can see there's some exclamation marks here. It's not going to let me save it because it wasn't on our land. And yeah, all these automatically calculated attributes, which are useful back at WMS, have not been filled in for you. So yeah, I guess that's just an indicator that wasn't captured in the right place. If it was in the right place, you still might see these exclamation marks again. I'll show you in a second, so we'll just move it. I'll drag down again to get the map, put it back on our land. So those attributes are filled in. If I hadn't filled in either of those two, you can see these have gone red now because these are the two mandatory attributes. I'll update that to now actually, and you'll see the symbol change for it from what it was previously. So top right hand submit button, and you can see, as I was saying, because I changed the date and time, that symbol's changed, and it's happy enough that all the other features are there. So if something goes wrong with the downloading the offline areas as well, that could cause a problem because if the subcompartment database isn't there, then it's got nothing to interrogate. So that's what I was saying, when you're setting up your offline areas, just give it a minute to let it settle down before you hit download area. This information needs to be synchronized up into the cloud. So if we look at this map here, by this black line, we've just made that change to that feature. Take a second, but I'll just go into the online map. And once this fires up, some of these additional changes we've been making won't be visible. It is set up to synchronize automatically on Wi-Fi, but some of the more recent changes won't be there. Let's get back over to the map. So I was talking about this feature we just collected here. You can see it's not there because this is the live online map looking at the cloud data. So what we'll go back out of this map. So I need to go back out of this map. Sorry, I'm using the back arrow up here. And going back into the one that I just had open previously, which I've kind of forgotten which one it was now. I think it's this one here because there's still two. Just highlight it. It says there's, oops, what am I meant to do? This map here, you can see it says 2 local edits. So to synchronize those, I could do it from this page using the sync option, but instead I'll open the map again. Show you the alternative way of doing that. So again, focusing on that green one I've got in the middle of the screen there now. And I'm hitting that symbol that's on the top row, which has now got a dot beside it indicating there's information that still needs to be synchronized. So this one here. So sync now. You can see it automatically did it itself 7 minutes ago. And again, even if this is like one of those really big maps you've downloaded, synchronizing doesn't send all of that information back and forth. It's just the changes. But photos will increase the sync time. Now, just to demonstrate what's going on there, if we go to the online map, all of those changes that we made will be visible once it opens. And there we go, there's that green dot we were talking about earlier. Okay. So I think that pretty much covers it. I'll maybe just go back a couple of screens. So the initial map screen for this map, and back again. So that was using the arrow at the top left. I mentioned how synchronizing was set up to do it automatically. So it's got auto sync turned on. Cellular data is actually turned off, so it's only going to sync over Wi-Fi. If I tap on that, I can save those changes. So if you live in a rural area where actually your cell phone's more useful for Wi-Fi than, well, for internet than broadband, then you might want to make changes there. So in that case, you would need to enable downloads and sync and update for cellular data. But if you've got good Wi-Fi, you can leave those turned off and save it using your mobile allowance. The settings in here, I won't worry too much about them for now. It's been quite a long video to explain what essentially is, just a 2-minute process really. So again, this tracking, this one here, the online map, should not be the one that is the current map. It should always be one of the areas that you've downloaded for offline use. So the one I had opened before was this one. It's quite an important point. Go back now to that page. The current map doesn't show that thumbnail for the current version one, which is the online one. It's the one that we can use when there's no mobile signal. So yeah, thanks for listening. I mean, maybe there's a lot of information there, but really all we're trying to convey is that it's actually quite simple to add these points. A couple of presses on the screen and you're away basically. Submit and done. So thanks for watching and good luck with the application.